Hey everybody, welcome to Hear Us Out. I am Patrick.
And I'm Paul. How's it going?
Pretty good, my friend. Now I wait for the how's it going. I love that that's become part of our intro. And we are Hear Us Out. I see Ethan's in there with first in the comments. Hey, MGTV, YT Online, you once told us we could call you Ethan. Them's the rules around here for anybody who's new or watching this for the first time, watching us for the first time. We never use your real name unless you ask us or tell us we can. And similarly, the funny thing is I'm not really Patrick and he's not really Paul. I'm Paul and he's Patrick. We switched before we started all this. No, we didn't. I don't look like a Paul, do I? I look like a Sebastian Roger the Third, right?
What's wrong? I was going to say, what's wrong with looking like a
Oh
Paul?
no, because a Paul's like a cool, like Paul's a solid, dependable name. I think I know what my first question is going to be for you now.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Is it going to be? What's wrong with my name?
Well, actually, that might be it. We borked the start of this completely. Let's get back to being professional. Welcome to Hear Us Out. This episode is the Ask Us Anything. We've never tried one of these before. It's going to be fun. You can put your questions in the comments. Hey, Gavin, good to see you. Great to see you. Hey, welcome back, Irish. Any of you that are in the live chat, please ask any questions you want at any point. We'll keep dipping in and checking out. We were sent a few questions prior to this. We also have a few questions that we're going to surprise each other with along the way. And that's probably where we'll start, I guess, Paul. Just to get the heat and excitement going. How about you hit me with a question that I'm not expecting, and I'll hit you with one too.
Yeah. I got a couple. So I'm trying to figure out.
Don't give me one that's going to give me a chance to answer in for like 20 minutes because you know I can talk for the rest of the night.
Damn it. Because okay, I'll give you a choice to answer. Okay.
Okay.
So, what is your favorite Deus Ex Machina device from a movie, or your favorite plot hole?
Oh, crap. Spoiler warning on both, I guess. But also, I went to the cinema for the first time since COVID last night and saw Quiet Place 2. I didn't tell you. It's a very long story as to how and why I ended up in the cinema. I know we planned on actually trying to hit the cinema together. It was a bit of a last minute thing. But there's actually a huge plot hole in Quiet Place 2, and I wish I could talk about it.
Is it your favorite plot hole, though?
It kind of will be, probably, for quite a long time. You might want to hand your camera there. I think you've gone focus on us.
Oh, really?
What I can say is Army of the Dead is a film that a lot of people have seen because it's recent, so I don't want to pick something that not a lot of people have seen. Army of the Dead, spoiler warning for those that haven't seen it. In the end, the treasure that these people are trying to plunder, and I'm going to try and be a little bit vague just in case somebody's halfway through it, the treasure that these people are trying to plunder gets buried after a nuclear explosion. But then somebody manages to just dig it out and head off with it. So instead of fighting through all the zombies and doing all the work of trying to break into a high security vault, what they could have done was just wait for the nuclear weapon to flatten everything and then head in with some radioactive protection suits and a few excavators and dug out the gold that they were after anyway.
Am I the only one? I don't know about chat, but am I the only one that can tell Patrick that that's not the aim of the movie?
No, but the idea that that's a motivating factor for anybody. I know you're talking about that's not what was behind the casino owner that did it. But what I'm saying is, if anybody was going to go after the gold, why didn't they just say to him, hang on, why don't you just wait for it all to get blown up and then we'll go in and get it? You know,
I guess no one thought that the safe could survive it. I'm more saying that it doesn't. That's a conversation for another.
I know you're saying that wasn't the motivation that they were given, but I'm saying these people were asked to go and do this death-defying feat, and surely one of them kind of would have been like, there won't be any zombies after the bomb, so maybe would you mind hanging on? I know a guy with a digger. We'll go get you your stuff then.
But did they know it was going to?
Fair point. But at the very least, I would have floated the idea. Anyway, thank you for that first question. I would like to call out Brew because he's just said we're both called Peter. He also says Army of the Dead was, in my opinion, way too long. Agree on both of those fronts for me. It was definitely way too long, and it was definitely meh. Paul, I am going to ask you just a very short, simple, easy question based on our messing around with names at the start of this. Okay. What is the worst or most on-the-nose name for a character that you can remember in movies where you were like, oh, that character's kind of given a bit too much away? Like, and Darth Vader is the classic example of people are like, oh, Dark Father. Well, not everybody was going to get that. But there are some times where they're like, there are 6 people in this movie. This is Jane, Mary, Peter, Simon. And then Evil Dave. I wonder which one of them is going to turn out to be the evil one.
Yeah. That's interesting. From a movie.
And chat can answer also, by the way, for any of these things.
Yeah. Like if you want to answer what your favorite plot hole in a movie is, go for it. See, that's a bit of a weird one. I guess when I first watched The Matrix, and like no one really knew it hadn't spread about the whole oh, it's a simulation thing. When I watched it for the first time and someone went Morpheus, and I just went, well, that's a main character's name. Like, kind of thing. You know, that kind of way? And then they were just like, or like Trinity and stuff like that. So I was just like, you couldn't have a lineup of people and just be like, well, this is, Mr. Anderson, Trinity, Morpheus. Like, who's the main characters and stuff? And you're just like, oh,
yeah.
God.
I don't think a guy called Tank was going to be a main character. Like, that side character naming right there. Yeah. And Dozer, or whatever the other 2 dudes were.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
That happens. I'll point it in animation, especially in anime. That happens a lot. Like, it is really funny to be just like, you see, like, it's like a collection of people, and then it's just like you can spot the main characters throughout the crowd, and you're just like, really, you couldn't have even tried to blend them in? Like, it's just like, well, that guy obviously has a sword, and the rest of them are all just normal business people. Like, what the hell? So
I'm laughing at you and also laughing at chat because just while you were speaking, Leatherface showed up as an example. Brew, I do love it. I call back to our last thing. Actually, to hell with that. Irish, you're dead on with Indy. If Indy can survive in a fridge, then gold can survive in a vault. And Gavin, you're right. Standing up and let's just take those radioactive waves in. But Peter with curly hair and Peter with comb over hair. I know that you're the one with curly over. This is not just a comb over. This is COVID chic, folks. And we were only talking just before we went on air about haircuts and how I really do need to do something. Watch our old videos. I had bad hair then too. What the hell am I saying watch our old videos for? Yeah, hair's not our strong suit. Maybe him, not so much me. Yeah. So Paul, like viewer asked questions. I want to make sure that we don't just quiz each other. I want to go to one that we received in the comments, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And because they made it a public comment, I am going to give the username, if that's groovy. Yeah. It was Dennis Logan asked, "What do you two do besides this and Homebrew D&D for a job?" Well, I can start by saying I don't do Homebrew. That is all him. I take no credit. I have no part in it. So anything good that happens there, I can't take any credit. And also, if anything terrible happens there, it was probably his fault because I know the rest of the crew and they're all really, really professional. I work with him regularly. If anything's going to bring that channel down, it's him. You'll know it's Paul. So I'll let you answer the Homebrew part.
Not lying.
But as far as our day jobs go, we both work for, if you don't mind me saying, Paul, we both work for the same IT multinational, but we do different things in it. It's not exciting. So I'd like to think that that's what we do while we're waiting for a Thursday night to do this. Yeah,
pretty much. We just work for an IT company, kind of thing. We would love to transfer to this full time.
Yeah,
this kind of stuff, just because the entertainment industry is a big kind of favorite of ours, and journalism and kind of videography and stuff like that would be a very big.
So
We talked about doing sketch shows as well.
if any
like
of you
stuff
have
like
a
that.
massive amount of money and would like to get us to, actually, if you'd just like to pay all our bills, because I don't want to be rich. If someone can just say, "Don't worry about your bills," then I'd stop doing what I'm doing and I'll start doing this full time. But yeah, so Paul, do you want to call out a wee bit about Homebrew? Because this is a good chance. Somebody's asked about it here.
Yeah, no, like so. Yeah, we started Heroes Out first, and then I think we started releasing stuff for quite a while, and then I was approached by Ben, who's the DM, him and Wes, who's a character on the show called Arlington, came up with the show idea of D&D Irish mythology and drinking beers and stuff. They asked me to come and help them. They originally asked me to just give them tips on streaming and stuff like that. And eventually, because they were just like, "You're busy with Homebrew or Hear Us Out, so you probably can't do that." And I was just like, "Nah, I can help you out. So I'll just do the streaming stuff." And then at one point, I dropped in for a one shot, and I realized that I could also probably be a character. So I'm now Randir Golrun, the dwarf artificer, who's just a salesman. That's all he really is. He's the Ferengi of the group.
So,
But that's what I do.
and since I know nothing about Dungeons and Dragons other than watching the cartoon, I've learned a lot from Paul.
Yeah.
And I'm getting really good at the lingo. So DM, Dungeon Master, I'm getting up to speed, thanks to hanging out with Paul. So if you all have an interest, and definitely if you all have time, I suggest you get on over to Homebrew, drop them a like, subscribe, and a share, which is all the things you're doing here. See, getting that one out of the way early too.
Also, tell them where you came from. If you go over and you do subscribe and watch them, say hello from the Heroes Out crowd,
Yeah, and I was just about to say, where you came from is Hear Us Out, not like, well, originally I came from France, but then my family a few generations later moved to Botswana. Paul, the comments, as always, in chat are brilliant. Favorite plot hole is Obi-Wan hiding on Darth Vader's home planet, dressed as a Jedi, changed his name to Ben. Never going to figure that one out. That's some masterful hiding in plain sight, isn't it?
Well, like it is. There's a lot of questions there. I guess we're going to find out in the Ewan McGregor kind of. Is it a TV show or movie? I think it's a movie. Right?
Disney Plus series, I'm assuming.
Yes, yeah. I don't know because I guess we'll get some answers there. We'll probably find out that Ben has some kind of Jedi shroud thing.
I like to think that it's where land was cheap, and Jedi at that point, scattered to the four corners of the universe. He was like, well, I can't afford my lakefront forest property on Endor, so I guess I'm off to live in the dust. Now, Nora's asked a question. Oh, sorry, you go first.
I was going to say that's a great question.
Let's then read it out. What have we got here?
Norris has put, whose entertainment crew would you like to have, living or dead, people from actors, directors, etc.
Oh.
I know my answer straight off the bat.
Then you can go.
Steven Spielberg.
Okay. And is it what's your criteria for picking when your brain did it? Is it to be them, or is it to have the experiences that they had?
Have the experience that they've done such a wide range. Like Steven Spielberg, I would say that Steven Spielberg, and I've said this before in other movies, that he might have gone downhill since, but like because he's done such a range of like fantastical kind of films, from like so heart-wrenching kind of like dramas all the way up to like sci-fi and fantasy stuff that have grown with us as kids and stuff, movie films as well, like Saving Private Ryan, and also the Band of Brothers stuff. Like it's just his career is such a wide variety of great items that that's a career that I would have loved to have had or have.
Well, I was just about to say, it's never too late to be the next Steven Spielberg. Just you're gonna have to start working really hard and drop me, because I am not going to be your George Lucas. I may have the beard and the build, but I don't have the background in thieving from Norse mythology. I said it. Anyway, who would I pick? I'm going to be weird on this one because it's not somebody that I idolize in any way. It's not somebody that I actually would really want to be them or necessarily have their career. But somebody who ticks a lot of boxes as far as getting to have experiences in the entertainment industry, work with great people in a lot of different capacities, is actually Clint Eastwood. I think Clint Eastwood went through, interesting, back in the TV days to the spaghetti western times, movie times, just getting to hang out with Ennio Morricone would be nice for me. He then, we got to direct. He got to have an odd career at different times in his life and work with some amazing people and not so amazing people in some cases, and then write and direct, and obviously, in my opinion, tail off towards the end of his career, which I'm hoping at some stage stops. But I think much like your answer, because I can't use Steven Spielberg and Chris Nolan's not around long enough, and et cetera, et cetera. I think, yeah, that ticks a lot of boxes for me. Being able to experience TV back in the early days, movies as they changed through the ages, movie financing, the idea of being a superstar, beyond a superstar to having a fading star, making your own content as far as writing and directing goes. Yeah, I don't want to be Clint Eastwood, but his career would be interesting to me.
Yeah, that's the thing. I wouldn't want to take away from the world of Spielberg kind of thing, but I'd love to have a varied career or varied kind of like backlog of movies and TV shows that Spielberg has had.
We're halfway there. We got the beards, Paul. We got the beards. What was the next go? Do you think Chris Nolan has peaked? Or has he peaked? So do we think he is? Where do we think he is? Has he peaked? Is he going to peak? Is he peaking right now? I'll be honest. I have a fear that Chris Nolan may have peaked, and it was actually Tenet that made me think that. I don't want it to be true. But there's a trajectory there, and I'm hoping it's just a little downward dip, and I'm hoping it's going to come back. But I'm starting to feel he may be too powerful and not having enough people say no in his life.
I don't think he's peaked. I think it's just he's had such a good trajectory of movies that like having one like in the circumstance that he's had. Like Tenants is a weird one, but I think you can look at every single director and find the weird one in between some of the greats kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's peaked. I think it's just I think it's just a blip in the kind of like radar thing kind of thing.
And I hope you're
still
right.
Got plenty. Yeah, like I could definitely be wrong. And Tenants is, as you said, he's just exploded so much that he's just been able to do. I think Tenant might now be the one that like people will say no to, as in now people will be just like, yeah, whoa, Chris, like it's a bit weird that one, kind of thing. So maybe we should like rethink this whole kind of like thing. But who knows,
Cool. You want to pick out a question?
Sure.
And by the way, yes, great question, Gavin. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah. Which was, if you could have one meal with an actor, who would it be and why? I think we've answered this before.
Yes.
In a video before.
Allow me to use our new special effect, which is not exactly a special effect. I'm just the only thing that it's safe to show from the internet to people is our own video page. So we did a dinner for 5 after a fashion. Do you remember how long ago that was? Look at how many videos we have, people. You got to get into this back catalogue. Back when we were less hairy. I was going to say better, but is that even fair? Can you say that about yourself?
I was going to say it's nowhere near the our black strip.
Oh, the black box.
Actually,
the
black rectangle thing.
While we have this up, once I find this video, while we have this up, I think we could quickly do that, and I'll ask you a few questions about our thumbnails. Where is the dinner one? My God, I really should have just Googled. Yeah, we did it. We definitely did a video on who we'd like to have around for dinner.
Here's a question though.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think your decision has changed since that video?
I'll be honest with you. I could say if I could remember who I chose. I can't even remember how long ago that video was. I'd love to know who I chose. But it probably has.
Yeah.
This is killing me. I don't know where the hell it is.
I think mine would have definitely changed.
Well, do you remember who you chose then?
No. I think it could have been Tom Hanks.
Yeah, possibly. You know what, folks? There's something we've just realised. We've been doing live streaming for a while now. It's when you try something new like this and you realise you think you're just going to fall on the right video and you don't. And you're afraid to type it in up here in case you get something weird in your search results. Hey, Dream Dinner Party. It was actually a streamed one. Oh my God. So folks, we did it. We did it, and we don't.
Which was
we don't have any imagery. So it was. How do I get the thumbnail back? Here we go. Dream Dinner Party. Who'd you invite? Anna Kendrick and Steven Spielberg definitely made the list, Paul. There's no surprise.
Yeah, I think Anna Kendrick was one of those ones that is just like, I'm putting Anna Kendrick in just because, You said Ryan Reynolds.
Of course I said Ryan Reynolds. Like that. Yeah. That hasn't changed. That has not changed. I wonder if I said at the time Rosamund Pike. I imagine I probably did. Possibly Rosario Dawson. Or I may have been like, don't say them because people will think that it's all, you're just inviting actresses. But no, I think they're genuinely talented people. So, Paul, my question for you, and for anybody who's wondering what Paul was referencing, back when we started, way, way, way back at the start, we had a thumbnail template, which is this black box stuff, which, Paul, I know you joke about, but it got us going. It gave us a workflow, a production methodology, and our faces were on every thumbnail. Oh, dear God.
Yeah, no, it was really good because it made us... It allowed us to get thumbnails up there that told you exactly what was in there, but it also allowed us to learn better ways because like we don't interrupt you. We interrupt each other a little bit more now on the live stream because of the delay sometimes. But back in the day when we were doing those thumbnails, it was more kind of getting our craft kind of sorted between the banter between the two of us, so we weren't talking over each other or interrupting too much or something. Kind of thing. Like I still have that horrible kind of editing thing where like I'll have something in the back of my head going, you gotta say this, even when we're like just like, all right guys, we're gonna go, I'm just like, just say it, and I'm just like, no, I can't.
Well, actually, yeah, and I know we've got to go back to people's questions, but on that, one of the things you're kind of edging towards there is, for anybody who only started watching us after we live streamed thanks to COVID, we were a shorter, tighter video thing that we were editing stuff together and we were trying to add flavor to it all. So that meant sometimes we had recordings that were 40 minutes long and you'd end up with a 20-minute video, or, an 18-minute recording that was a 6-minute video, depending on, what we should keep and what we shouldn't. But we went through a phase where both Paul and I talked about the fact that I was editing and producing live in my head. So I had a habit of kind of rushing us on to the next thing a little bit now and again. And I've realized in hindsight that's because I knew that we had so much editing ahead of us. It was like, yeah, I gotta get this live right in camera. Whereas now we're doing this live stream stuff. It's a different challenge, particularly with the delay.
Yeah, like that's the interesting. So yeah, I would say... Yeah, I think when we go back, we won't... it's not going to be a discussion now kind of thing, but when we go back, we'll probably still do a little bit of live streaming, but mostly we'll go back to kind of our normal kind of like tighter kind of like informational opinion piece things.
I have a question, though. Did we actually answer the question that was asked? If we could have a meal with one actor, who would it be? I am going to go for Ryan Reynolds, because the dude would make me laugh. Yeah.
I'm going to say that my one has changed, and I would still Anna Kendrick, but I would also like to have a meal with Denis
Villeneuve. Oh, Denis Villeneuve, yeah. So the director of Arrival and
and Dune and stuff like
And
that.
Blade Runner 20... I don't want to say the wrong number. 64?
20 is it 2049?
Thank you. I mix up all my stuff. Oh, I also... Irish just called out that Clint Eastwood was mayor of a town. Yeah, that's another thing, actually. If you choose Clint as the person whose life you get to kind of live, you also get to be mayor of a town. Steven Spielberg didn't get to do that, although he probably could have if he wanted to. To be fair, he still could if he wanted to.
I get to be friends with Tom Hanks.
Touche. Gavin Duffy called out Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges, great choice. In fact, if I could go back, I might pick Jeff Bridges.
Jeff is a good one.
What else have we got, Paul?
Nolan's, well, like I like Irish Bauer's comments on the Nolan thing. Other than the fact that, like, he also they also talked about how we were saying that he doesn't have enough people to say no to. But he was saying that his next film is very important to his career. I wouldn't say it's very important to his career. I would say that the one after this one is. That's my thing, because like if this one's a bad one as well, it's the next one. But if it's a good one, then you got to see what's like. Is this a trend or is it a fluke now? Kind of thing.
Yeah, that's it. Is it a trend? Is it a trend? It takes 3 to find out if it's a trend. It's like the strike system, I think. Yeah.
As long as he's not like Windows.
Oh, hey.
One bad OS, one good OS every year, or like every couple of years.
It depends where you started counting too, as to which you think is the good or the bad. It's so funny for me.
Well, see, this is the thing. 95 and 98 were really good, but after 98, it just goes good, bad, good, bad, good, bad.
That's true. And I started on 3.1. It was before there was 90s. What one video game would you like to see? I could flick back over to our other screen for this, because I know we covered this, but I've learned that I'll not be able to find that particular video live. I remember that one of the things that I talked about at the time for video game adaptation to movies, because we did talk about it as part of a video at some point, and I thought Red Dead Redemption was such a cop-out of a choice by me, because it was like a game version of a Western, if you know what I mean, because that's what it was. But Red Dead Redemption 2, the storyline, I would love to see it done theatrically, because the storyline was so good, and there's a gap in the market for a really good story like that. Because let's face it, nobody's making big epic westerns with a bit of heart and a bit of breadth to them now.
Not since Westworld's.
As movies. Yeah. No, I hear you. So what's the one video game you'd like to see made into a movie or TV series?
See, my choice would be Wolfenstein, just because. But the thing is that Man in the High Castles essentially exists now, so it's just Man in the High Castle is just essentially a less bloodier Wolfenstein kind of thing.
That's funny, because I tried Man in the High Castle and couldn't stick with it.
Oh yeah,
is it worth it? The quality wasn't there, if you know what I mean.
If you can't stick with it, then don't, kind of thing. It's not like it's not a story that's going to get overly better for you.
And the story was fine. It was the production and the acting. It took me out of it too quickly. I couldn't gel with how they'd made it rather than what they were making. It's a real shame, because I really liked the premise. I thought it was clever and interesting.
Yeah, that's a Philip K. Dick. I think it's Philip K. Dick.
Is it? It's one of
based on that. It's one of the big three. As of off, or I think it's Philip K. Dick though.
I think you might be right.
Yeah, Wolfenstein is just the same thing. It's just a little bit bloodier.
Okay.
I say a little. It's a lot bloodier.
As long as they don't try and make Mario Kart or something, I'm happy enough. Because let's face it, don't do racing games as movies. If you want to have a movie called Need for Speed, but just forget that there was ever a game, because then you end up with something that's cringy, cheesy, but not in the best way. If anybody's seen Need for Speed, they know what I'm talking about. Don't do it.
Yeah.
So, Paul, do you watch the Jack Ryan movies? And who's your favorite Jack Ryan? I have seen, I think, most of the Jack Ryan movies, but then there's always another one, and like, oh, that was actually Jack Ryan too, because I only recently saw the Chris Pine one. That's
Yeah.
the most recent that I've seen for me, if you know what I mean. I don't think it's the most recent in the chronology.
No, I think it is because
Is it?
there's the TV shows.
Oh
I
yes,
think
that's what I'm
the
thinking.
Chris Pine one is the Chris Pine one
The last
is
theatrical.
the most recent movie. Yeah, and then there's the John Krasinski
That's
TV
right.
show now, and then there's two Fords,
One Affleck. Is it one
one
Affleck or two
Affleck,
Afflecks?
yeah,
One
one
Affleck.
no, one Affleck, and then one Baldwin. Um, so that's the
Oh,
Hunt for Red
Hunt for Red
October.
October. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna submarine film, but then I was gonna have to be like Widowmaker, Hunt for Red October, Das Boot, everything that's had a submarine in it. Who's your favorite? So who do you think is your Jack Ryan? Who do you think pulled it off best?
Like Harrison Ford is an easy answer.
Mm-hmm. So I'll take that. You look like you want to take the difficult answer.
It's not that like it's I guess it's just a different like it's a different series. Like I like John Krasinski's Jack Ryan. I love that series, the Amazon Prime series. It's really really good. I ended up like binge watching the two seasons in a weekend.
Cool.
Like
That's a
like
good
just
sign.
to show how good sign of it is. I'm gonna say Baldwin. I like Baldwin in Hunt for Red October, mostly because he is a very smart character, um, with like really good kind of like he's just a really good character in Hunt for Red October. Like and everybody doesn't want to believe him in every kind of way, but he's such a smart kind of like well-rounded character that you're just like yeah, you're rooting for him automatically, kind of thing. And I think is that the first? It's not the first Jack Ryan film, is it? I think when the Fords is, isn't it?
Oh, I would have to check dates on the IMDb. There's not going to be too many years in it. I would say between was it Clear and Present Danger was the first Ford Harrison Ford one. I think no, actually that wasn't. That was the second Harrison Ford one. I think. I could pull up IMDb on the other page, but if I touch anything, the stream's going to go down. Because I'm all thumbs and fingers. Well, in the meantime, then I'll move on to the next question. What is the one animated movie you think would work in live action, and one live action movie you think would work as great animation? Ooh, that's a whole video topic. I love that question. Good job. What's one animated movie you think would work in live action?
So just quickly, the Hunt for Red October is the first one. Then the Patriot Games
Patriot Games, nice.
is Harrison Ford. So
Is there like 2 years in that? In a difference?
There's so 1990, 1992, 1994, and then Sum of All Fears, which is the Ben Affleck, Morgan Freeman one, which is 2002, and then Shadow Recruit, which
Shadow
is
Recruit is
the Chris Pine, 2014.
Also, I would just like to say before we go to any more questions, there are too many Chris's in Hollywood. I know there's a lot of jokes made about this, but as somebody who has to pause every time they're about to say Chris, when they're mentioning an actor now, it's really starting to boggle my head. The mental gymnastics that I went to before getting the word Pine out of my mouth, like it actually hurts my eyeballs now.
Chris Pine, Chris Pratt are the two hardest ones because like Chris Evans
and Chris Hemsworth.
This is Chris Evans is the easiest one for me because he's back in the day to like Not Another Teen Movie and
Fantastic
Losers
Four
and Fantastic Four stuff. Like Chris Hemsworth was introduced to I was introduced for the Thor movies,
right?
And Chris Pine was the start. Like at least, but Chris Pine and Chris Pratt are literally the hardest ones for me. Just as the little ones.
And there are like 20 other Chris's.
Yeah.
Chris Rock, Chris Tucker, Chris every like yeah. You're going to pick out the next question, I hope. Oh no, we just asked the question. So Paul, I should throw that to you. Sorry, I was going to answer the animated movie that could work live action and vice versa. Now, I have a bad feeling I might know one that you will either be like, yes, I want this animated movie to be made live action, or never ever touch it because it's one of your favorite movies. It involves a very tall, metallic gentleman.
No, never touch it.
I thought that was going to be the thing. Um,
Yeah.
uh, I think, and this is gonna be a tough one because do you include like the Pixar generation animated movies in this?
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay.
Like it's like, I guess is it's just the question doesn't go to 2D. It just says animated.
Well,
So
that's true.
2D or 3D. So I would say that.
Um,
Um,
it's a really good question. Do you have an answer off the top of your head? Because I wanna think on that one for a second.
yeah, see that's the thing. So a movie into an animated series, I would love to see Priest, the Paul Bettany film, turn that or Legion turned into an animated film or animated series, kind of thing. I think that would be a really good series or film kind of
So
thing.
Paul Bettany's IMDb page from 1999 to 1990 to
It's,
1998
it's early two
or
thousands, I
early
think.
2000s,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
2002 to 2003. Um,
Like
well, that's yeah. I think there's a load of movies, a load of live action movies that could easily make the transition to animation and benefit from it. Particularly some of the more fantastical stuff that can benefit from just being able to use animation to make that more seamless and natural. I think the other direction is harder for me. What animation? Like, because A Bug's Life isn't going to work. I don't think. Um,
no.
Quite literally.
Yeah, animated is a little bit more difficult, but trying to think of one that I would like to see.
I knew there'd be a question like this that completely caught us. Can I mull on that? Can we come back to that one? Because I know in a minute my brain's going to go, this is the choice you want.
I'm gonna say I made a focus as well, so I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Okay,
Like,
no problem. All right, well, it's so good a question that I hope there's other people putting in answers that I can steal from. But I'm going to move on because I want to come back to that question. Uh, for future video game to movie adaptations, do you think it's better to shoot live action or to make 2 hour long animated cutscene in film format, similar to the Final Fantasy? I'm not sure what Paul's take on this will be, but I think if you're going to try and adapt anything, be that a book or a video game or whatever else it might be, if you're going to a different medium, you have to treat it like a different medium. You just try and tell your story, you take your themes, you do whatever it might be. I think the Final Fantasy idea, that's great, and that's a form of digital animation that's very reminiscent and kind of, let's say, based on the game or based on the visuals and style of a game. So I don't necessarily even see that as a full jump. If you're doing a full jump from your video game to your movie or from your book to a screen, you can take themes, you can take whatever you want. You can try and be very faithful, but I think you want to try and make it your own in that other medium. So I'm definitely more shoot it as a movie, live action. I don't know what you heard,
yeah.
Paul, but
Oh no, I heard all of it. I
okay.
just turned off my camera. Um, I got one for the animated into live action, but it is an anime film called Sword of the Stranger.
Oh,
It's a very traditionalist kind of like story, which is just a unnamed swordsman saves people. It's probably the best not to give anything away. But Sword of the Stranger, if you haven't seen it, I would say that's probably my favorite film for film adaptation. There, it could already be, and it could vice versa, kind of thing. Um, but for the video game thing, um, I know a lot of games currently, like Dota and League of Legends, currently have series coming onto Netflix, and they're essentially just extended cutscenes. And Overwatch, which is another game, are also doing the same thing. So I would say 2 hour cutscene kind of thing would probably be best for a lot of games nowadays.
mm.
If we're going to go back to Final Fantasy level stuff, well, just take a look at Full Metal Alchemist on Netflix. Because that's not a game, but that's an anime that's turned into a thing, and you see where the kind of live action kind of elements fall off. So I'd say, yeah, animated for games is better.
Well, We have, and I just want to call out that Baldwin is the correct answer from Irish for the so fair play. I think you were the one that asked the question too, so thanks, Irish. Kitty Cat is back. Wonderful to hear from you. One of our great commenters. Question: are you a fan of musicals? I can answer that. Yes, surprisingly to most people. Yes, I am. And is there a film adaptation that you really like, or a musical adaptation of a film that you enjoyed? I talked about this about 2 weeks ago, I think, that Les Mis, I actually thought they did a great job. I really do think they did a great job. And I know it's a big popular answer. Don't get me wrong, I do sing some of the songs from Chorus Line in the shower. I hope I get it. I'm not going to do it now because we'll get a copyright takedown. Because my rendition will be that perfect that the algorithm will catch us, Paul. But yeah, I think Les Mis
you do
set a very high bar. Sorry, what were you going to say?
You do an amazing Anne Hathaway impression while you're singing Les Mis. You open that up.
Well, are you a fan of musicals?
Yes. Yeah, I got to see like Phantom of the Opera as a stage production. I got to see like Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat, Vita, and stuff like my parents were very much just like, we are going to educate you in a lot of really good theater stuff, and like favorite part because I was a child was the lighting rig guys who used to drop like abseil down after the show. My parents used to let me wait and watch them abseil. I would say that my favorite film adaptation would probably be like the Phantom of the Opera one. Like, I'm not going to choose Hamilton because I know it's essentially a stage show that's
that's not an adaptation. That's a recording of the show.
Yeah, it is one of my favorite recordings of a live show because it is so well done, kind of thing. But yeah, I would say Phantom of the Opera is a really, really good one. It's really enjoyable. It's really enjoyable.
And I know that's because again, I'm not the biggest Phantom fan, and that gets me in trouble here at home. But I know you are, and weirdly, kind of as a tangent to that, I'm going to pick, because you mentioned Hamilton for the second part of the question, a musical that I'd like to see shown as a film. I'd actually love to see a little thing called Avenue Q. And if anybody doesn't know what Avenue Q is, have a little YouTube. I think that's something that should have been properly recorded and released in the same way Hamilton was. Because it's genuinely fantastic and enjoyable. I'm going to describe it in a few very simple words. Imagine if the Muppets were a bit more adult and somebody was really, really good at making songs that explained a lot about life. So yeah, look it up on your own time, folks, but Avenue Q is a good one.
It's very good. Yeah, that's a good one.
I've seen it in 3 different countries now. I can't walk past it being on somewhere. So yeah, I've seen a few different casts do it. There's almost a Chris for every letter of the alphabet. Now, there's a video where we should challenge ourselves to come up with a Chris for every letter of the alphabet. What do you think? And I should stop leaning in. Sorry, folks. Eyesight's leaving me, so I'm leaning in to read the questions. I don't have as many big screens as Paul does. So, Paul, if I'm reading something backwards, you let me know. Who do you think did the best job at moving from child actor to adult? Oh, Jodie Foster's in with a shout in a lot of ways. But that's career, because you say adult career, because she, went on to direct, etc. And I suppose that gives Ron Howard a shout for that too. But, who else is there that would be a good call for that?
Does Johnny Depp count? Because he was a teen. No, child.
Yeah, child. They have to be somebody you could hand an ice cream to and they'd still be happy that you handed them an ice cream. So that means not teenager.
Leo.
Yeah, how young was he?
Leo DiCaprio, because he was in
What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
Yeah, and also the Quick and the Dead as well. He was young. He was pretty young in that one.
He was pretty young in Basketball Diaries, but yeah. Well, actually, you know who? Frodo. Elijah Wood, whose first on-screen appearance was in
Back to the Future 2.
Thank you very much. He's one of the kids playing the Old West arcade game in the future. The Old West is coming up a lot tonight. I think I'll be watching a Western before bed. Um, that's a great question, by the way, Irish. So I'd love to hear. Throw in some answers down there for anybody that we haven't covered. I can see people are answering. Kirsten Dunst, Claire Danes, good calls. Actually, really good calls. Home Alone would be great as an animated movie. I think you may have asked the question, but I think you've probably given one of the best answers too. Christian Bale or Scarlett Johansson? Christian Bale, yeah, from Empire of the Sun. He was very young in that. ScarJo was quite young when she started too. Oof. God, there are a lot when you think about it. I'm going to stick with Jodie Foster just because she got to go on and direct, because I feel like I want to have a decent answer for one of these things that you don't all have a better answer for. I'm not competitive. Oh, what are you saying?
Yeah, Natalie Portman as well with counts, wasn't she?
Oh,
she
yeah.
She was in Leon.
That's true. And she was definitely a child actor.
That's a good question. I like that question a lot.
Yeah, it was an excellent question.
Because
where does Hamilton fit into the film conversation? Does it count as a film? I love musicals too. I don't think it counts as a film. It's a recording of a stage play, or a recording of a musical in this case, which I have no problem with, by the way, because my favorite movie of all time, I've watched recordings of stage plays of 12 Angry Men, and I don't consider them any less brilliant, and I've seen it live a bunch of times by different casts. I have no problem with somebody pointing a camera at a stage and then showing that as a film if everybody agrees, and not doing it clandestinely. But I don't consider them films in the conventional sense of writing, producing, shooting, editing, etc.
Have you seen Dustin Hoffman's Death of a Salesman?
I have not.
Because I think that's the most difficult one to judge for me. Like Hamilton, yeah, I would definitely agree. It's not a movie. It's a stage recording kind of thing. Very well done. Nothing against it or anything like that. If people want to call it a film, they can call it a film. To me, it's stage recording. Death of a Salesman, Justin Hoffman's. It's essentially a film that's recorded as if but all the sets are essentially as a play. So it's like it's really difficult. It's one of those things where you can see like the house door kind of thing because the camera moves through, kind of thing. Like you can see all the kind of set pieces and stuff. So it's like it's a little bit more difficult for me. It's like, is it a film just using theater kind of set pieces, or is it a theater kind of or a stage recording kind of thing? So that's a difficult one for me.
Gotcha. And you can tell this is a great question because it's garnered so much back and forth in chat. So I think it was Kitty Cat asked that first time round, or Ethan, maybe, I can't remember who. I'm going to scroll back up in a minute and check. I think it might have been you. A great question. Getting lots of traction there. What's the one Christmas movie you can't live without? In the spirit that that's being asked, it's kind of weird, but I remember going to the cinema and seeing Elf and coming out of it going, wow, I have a new Christmas movie for life. And that was after one viewing of Elf. Because I'm not the most Christmassy guy. That's one of my many failings. I'm all summertime, not so much Christmas. So I've never really gravitated towards Christmas movies per se. But it really did work for me. I want to say Miracle on 34th Street, the original, but I'd be lying. I'm much more likely to say Gremlins or Elf, which is, I know, kind of weird and awful of me.
No, that makes sense to me, kind of thing. I think I've already said mine before.
Is it Muppets Christmas Carol?
No, it's the Santa Claus one from
That's right.
Like the 1960s or something like that.
We have a video on this somewhere. Now that you've said that, I'm like, yeah, we've actually done a video on Christmas movies at some point. This is just one big long ad for our back catalogue. Go back and check them out. They're all recorded, so they're shorter. You can go and enjoy them at your leisure.
So it's Santa Claus from 1985. That's the one that I would say is the one movie that one Christmas movie that I can't kind of thing. That has like Dudley Moore in it.
Yes.
Dudley Moore, John.
John Lithgow, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
it was a fantastic film in its own right because it turned it all on its head, and it was really about a disgruntled elf taking
Yeah.
it works in a few layers when it's poking at capitalism and poking at society. And obviously Dudley Moore was mostly known at that stage for the Arthur movies where he played a drunk, so it was kind of interesting that he would be cast against type as an angry elf.
Yeah, it's essentially just a disgruntled worker. You can really, if you worked in an office and you had some kind of great idea that everybody does ignore it, like
I
then you know what that film's made.
I massively regret not getting the question out before the right answer was given, because I was just about to say, Gavin asked a question, possibly more of a topic for a video. Best cameo in a TV show or film, and before we get to ask the question or got it out, Brew in the chat has given maybe one of the best answers that we were probably going to come up with, and that's Bill Murray in Zombieland. That's a hell of a cameo. Although I am partial to, Matt Damon and Sam Neill, etc., showing up in the worst of the Marvel movies.
In Thor,
Thor
Ragnarok.
2, yeah. No, it was Thor 2. Was it Ragnarok or?
No, Ragnarok.
Oh, it was Ragnarok.
Because it's the play. Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay, then one of the best of the Marvel movies.
You heard it first.
Just not Thor 2. It's one of the worst. But yeah, so who's your cameo going to?
It's Deadpool 1. It's Brad Pitt. He's the Vanisher. Is it in 2? It's in 2. Sorry, Deadpool 2. He's the Vanisher.
That's right. You don't see him until he hits the power lines.
Yeah, that is a great one. I gotta say.
That's a pretty awesome cameo. Oh, I've got one for you. And this is gonna kill the person I share my house and life with. Alanis Morissette. Alanis Morissette as God at the end of Dogma. Spoiler warning. That's an impactful cameo right there. Does it count as a cameo because she's on screen for long enough? Maybe You know what? There's a video. What counts as a cameo and what doesn't? Let's fight that one out in the comments at some other stage.
Yeah, that would be. What's the difference between a guest star? Like, where do you move from cameo to guest star?
Yeah.
Thing.
So. And Gavin has Die Hard for a Christmas film. That's up there. It's not going to cause an argument. Nobody is arguing about that anymore, I hope. Die Hard is absolutely a Christmas film. It's set at Christmas. I think at one point you see a Christmas tree. One of the lines of dialogue has ho 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 in it. Case closed. That's it.
Yeah. I've never understood that argument. It is
we're going to have lost half of the people watching because it is very contentious. Like there are people out there who are like, there's no way it's a Christmas film.
Yeah, like it's not like one of those like family Christmas films.
Exactly.
But it's a Christmas film, so definitely agree there.
I like that Irish has come in strong and he said Die Hard is a Christmas movie. End of story.
Doc Brown in A Million Ways to Die in the West. That was a good one. That's a very good one. Though that is very Seth MacFarlane kind of thing. So like I was fully expecting some kind of. I wasn't expecting Doc Brown, but I was expecting because like Jamie Foxx turns up at the end as well, and like kind of thing. So like I just expect a lot of random kind of cameo people in a Seth MacFarlane film.
That's true. Well, look, we're actually, this has flown by as the fastest ever. I think it's because this is the first one of these that I've been driving the desk where it's mostly just been sitting on one screen. Other than my sojourn into trying something new and then not being able to find a thumbnail. I think we'll all look back on that one and laugh. I know I will. Since we haven't got long, get your questions in. And while you're getting them in, I'm going to throw just a question at Paul that was posed by someone else. And that is
the one from Twitter.
Oh, say again?
Is this the one from Twitter or is it something else?
No, it was something else, but the one from Twitter is actually a good one. We were tagged in this by one of the people in the chat right now, Brew, actually. Who's a character that had roughly 15 minutes or less in a film, but had a huge impact on it? So this was asked by someone else out in the Twitter sphere, but it got pointed our way. It's a pretty interesting question. The answer I already gave on Twitter was Alec Baldwin and Glengarry Glen Ross. They always be closing. You'd think he was in the entire film, but he actually is only really in one scene. It was just a scene that set everything up.
Yeah, no, I guess, yeah. 15. You could pick a lot of Sean Bean films, but I would say Equilibrium. That's a quite impactful one. I don't know if it's 15 minutes, but
who dies at the start of the? Is it Steven Seagal doesn't make it in Broken Arrow or whatever it is? One of the. Oh God, I can't remember which stealth airplane attached to the bottom of. Was it like Air Force One or one of them?
Is it Executive Decision?
There you go.
Because Broken Arrow is the one with the nuke and John Travolta.
John Travolta and not Kiefer Sutherland, the other guy from Cuffs, etc. Christian Slater. The question I wanted to ask you though, and this is because it's not just about movies. What's the one thing you like most about doing YouTube? Like, what's the one thing you like most about the messing around that we do on the channel?
What's the best thing that we do with the YouTube kind of
well,
thing?
Like what do you enjoy? What's the thing that you got out of this that you didn't think you were going to get out of it? I guess in some ways is the way I look at it.
Nothing at all.
You hate it all? Well, that's good.
No.
I'll go first, everyone, because Paul seems to hate being here. Obviously, I love the creative outlet, but genuinely, and I know I've said this before, and it's why I keep calling out some of our commenters by name. Everybody who's ever commented on one of our videos, I owe a massive debt of thanks to, because it helps us and all that algorithm stuff, but that's not why. The thing that blew me away from when we put up our first video, because I wanted just the outlet, and I wanted to hang out with you, and I wanted to have some fun. But when I knew people, even if it was only 2 people were watching it, if one of them felt like they wanted to share their thoughts, it had a profound effect on me, and I absolutely love that. All the negative comments that we've received and stuff, I'm even grateful for them, because it's a hell of a privilege to have people take the 10 seconds out of their day to, stick their fingers to a keyboard or tap on a phone to actually bother to say something. And since we have people who say some of the most insightful and brilliant things, and I'm not exaggerating, and you may all think I'm being complimentary just because I want to be nice. No, I see a lot of YouTube commentary. We have smarter people than everybody else. I firmly believe that given a room, our viewers that bothered commenting would beat anybody else's. I will take that bet. Sure, look at the chat tonight. Best commenters ever, and it's meant the world to me as part of this. So that's the thing that I got out of it that I wasn't expecting, I think.
Yeah, like that's the kind of it's nice to find a group of people, find an audience kind of thing that appreciates and interacts well with us, and kind of thing that like have a deep love for the entertainment industry and TV and film and stuff like that. So yeah, I do agree there. I guess my favorite thing about YouTube is probably as you said, the creative outlet, and also the kind of like learning in collaboration with you has been great. I think it's one of my favorite parts of the YouTube thing is that I collaborate with you, and we've also we have some things that we'd really, really like to do in the future, kind of thing that like would be more of a creative collaboration kind of thing. It's just if we are ever able to do it kind of thing, but like that's the kind of I guess that's my favorite thing is just finding an audience that really really knows what we're talking about and enjoys kind of stuff that we talk about as well and likes our opinions, and then the creative outlet and collaboration with you. That's what it is.
Well, Paul, we're at that time now where we can make a decision. I have no problem going long on this particular video if you want to stick with it for a while longer, or we can head towards wrap up.
I can go a little bit longer.
Okay. Well then, we'll tackle some more questions then, because otherwise we would be heading straight to wrap up now. So in the vein of that, there is a question here which I found a second ago. If you could remake one film, what would you remake and why? We've actually covered this in a video also, but my answers have changed. Mostly because of Gavin's answer, though. Gavin gave an answer saying would remake Spawn. Absolutely. Because again, I went to the cinema and saw that and thought, oh, we're probably not going to get another shot at that.
Uh, no, I would say like Spawn is a really good answer. I think it is getting it is in
Oh,
the pipes of kind of getting remade kind of thing, especially in the years of kind of darker. I think Deadpool opened the door for it,
right.
with the 18s marker kind of thing. My answer probably hasn't changed, which is Ready Player One. Hate that film.
It was a massive disappointment to us both, and for similar reasons. We were both coming from maybe different views on the way into it, but we were both equally disappointed in the way out of it, which is impressive. It had everything going for it, but it executed on nothing. So that's a good call. I still think In Time, as good a movie as it is, the premise deserves even better than it got, because I think In Time is one of the greatest movie premises, one of the greatest conceits or setups for a movie ever. And I would love if it had gotten the Citizen Kane level treatment. I really would love if it had been given to Christopher Nolan, maybe a Denis Villeneuve, and had been released as this is the film that's going to change the world, because it has a lot to say when you think about the premise. So In
Yeah,
Time, which Justin Timberlake and Amanda Seyfried and everybody involved, you did a fine job. I just was like, now nobody can do it, or else it's just a redo of that movie. So that's
yeah,
the
I
one that
get
I
your
wish had never been done.
yeah, I get your point kind of thing. Yeah, like I could be saying Dune and then like once I see Dune, so
Yeah.
like
Well,
that's the thing.
it did get thrown in here that Rise of Skywalker and Star Wars Episode 8 and 9. If we're talking about contentious stuff, folks, that's a good way to bring lightning and thunder down on us, and I'm very happy to, because yeah, I think the final three movies could have been made as a more cohesive set of three movies. Um, there's all manner of problems, but I also don't think they're as bad as everybody gives out. So I have a foot in both camps on that one.
I would agree 8 and 9,
Yeah,
but like which Force Awakens is fine. I don't understand like
I
that was a
really
weird
enjoyed Force Awakens, but
yeah, I that's the thing. I find that's a weird movie because when I came out of the film out of the cinema, I was like, that was a great Star Wars movie. I really enjoyed it. I know it was a very good big callback to
hmm
some of the past and stuff like that, but that's what I needed. I needed them to be just like, look, we know what you want. But after this, we're going to go into our own story. So, what we're going to do is give you a little bit of what you want and then go into the new stuff kind of thing. And I was just like, thanks very much. The other two, but sorry, my point with the first one was that when I came out of the cinema, everybody was saying the same thing, and then a month down the road, everyone was just like, Force Awakens is shite."
yeah, which I thought was an absolute crock of doo doo as well. Because my thing was, and again, we did talk about this on one of the videos that I won't be able to find right now if I went looking for it. And the phrase I used then, and the phrase I still use, is it was what it had to be. It was a perfect palate cleanser to go, let's get over the prequels. Okay, let's just start going where we're gonna go now. My problem with it and 8 and 9, so 7, 8 and 9, is that although 7 was good, I was fine with 8 going its own direction as long as 9 continued that direction. So you can either fix 8 or you can fix 9. But I think, if you had actually done all three as a thought out thing of we're still going to do our palate cleanser, but we're going to set ourselves up for 8 and 9, that would have been the best way. I think I'd remake all three, but I would be making very few changes to the first one. And I don't know which way I would choose to go on the other two. Because I'll be honest with you, I think 9 has the vast majority of the issues for me in a lot of ways, and I know that's an unpopular opinion, very unpopular opinion.
I I know exactly where I'd go with 8 and 9, just because I would have introduced like the Grey Knight, like as in the Jedi slash Sith kind of combo, which is the Jedi Order, or like the whole thing of burning like the Jedi stuff was the fact is that the Jedi were wrong. It's actually embracing both sides that actually makes you a full proper kind of like Jedi kind of person, and I would
Yeah.
just go with that. But I would go with Kylo Ren coming from the dark side to the middle, and Ren going from the light side to the middle, kind of thing. And it's essentially them having to realize the problems, as in like Ray would have to deal with the fact that like she's going darker side and have to kind of try recapture the control out of what that power can give her.
Mm.
Whereas the other side is that Kylo would have to come to terms with the fact that the dark side made him do some terrible things, and the light side is now making him feel it.
There you go. See, I like the depth that you're heading to, because you can have that in your good epic sci-fi, folks. You just have to want to put it there, like Paul does, and I agree. Also, I really do think that Luke firing his lightsaber over his shoulder was more than just a story point. I think that was outside the movie. That was, we're binning the last movie because I'm annoyed, and it all felt petty from that point on. But one quick thing before we move to what probably will be our last question, because it's a massive one and it's great. I want to know what movie, because talking about this, what movie would you want to not remake, but be able to go back and erase from ever happening? And for me, that's Han Solo. It was not necessary. It shouldn't have been done. It was a cynical move. It obviously didn't work out well for them from an artistic or commercial point of view. It's part of the reason Lucasfilm, end of Disney, are in so much trouble. But I would definitely not have made that movie. If I could have it having not been made, I'd be much, much happier.
Yeah, I get like if in the Star Wars universe, yeah, I would choose that one if we're going to expand wider.
I can't believe I just used that, because what I should have said is there are only 3 Indiana Jones movies.
See, yeah, I was thinking that. I was thinking of getting rid of Crystal Skull.
I don't know what Crystal Skull is. You'll have to tell me about that sometime. My hypnotherapy's working.
You know.
Yeah. So, on to the big question. Actually, we better maybe hit Gavin's question first. Sorry, you go.
Just want to say that remake Mulan. That's an interesting, because I haven't seen the live action Mulan, and I'm interested in that point, kind of thing.
I did, and I wasn't impressed, I'll be honest.
So that's an interesting kind of thing for me. So
I've never seen the animated Mulan, but
that's fantastic.
This is what I hear, and I regret watching the live action. But Disney Plus and lockdown, what can you do? Do you think films will ever return to using more miniatures over CGI? Yes, but only certain types of movies. And I think you'll find it'll be very much for artistic reasons. It will be people who have the luxury of doing it, like people who could make large budget movies black and white years after colorization. So I think it will happen, but do I think it'll ever go back to being the norm? No. Economy just says your PC can save you cash.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely think like the elements of like like Star Wars and a lot of other the kind of black hole and a lot of fantasy kind of stuff. I think they're done. Like even the like buildings exploding kind of thing.
Yeah, or you look what they did in Alien. You've got Jim Cameron doing amazing stuff, but Aliens, Aliens, Alien 3, the amount of actual practical real world, not just miniatures, but physical representations of things that were there.
I would disagree there, because I think directors like Del Toro and stuff like that bring that back into not into fashion, but more kind of show the why you should do that, in the sense of it helps actors act more like they
gives them something to act
in the
against.
setting, yeah, kind of thing. When they're in the setting and stuff like that, it's a lot easier for them to kind of be in the moment and be there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
The miniatures and CGI, no, as you said, I think it'll be more an artistic elements to it, kind of thing. But I also don't think that props and practical effects will come back in a massive way. But I do think Del Toro and directors like him have shown the value in spending a little bit extra cash just to make the world a little bit more in depth for the actors as well as the audience.
Yeah, and I think it's time and money well spent when people get to do it. But I can understand why it's a hard thing for people to push for unlimited budgets. This is the one ring. This is the question to rule them all. And I'd love to hear everybody else answer this in the comments. If you could only watch one film for the rest of your life, what film would that be? That's a great question to kind of end out on, and we may end in about 4 hours when I've worked out what criteria will even apply mentally to work that out. So is this something to keep me sane, something that I can get 10 things out of? Is it my favorite film? I overthink these things with criteria. Oh gosh, Paul, that is such a great question.
I have. See, this is the interesting. I have a group of movies that I will always go back to, so it's essentially just choosing one of those.
Okay,
kind of thing. So it's The Brave and the Bold, which is Josh Brolin, which I think has just been voted the best firefighter film.
I certainly hope so, because I watched it and it touched me like you kind of suggested it would. I thought that was incredible.
Yeah, it's a very powerful kind of film. If you haven't seen it, Brave and the Bold, Josh Brolin, it's about Granite Mountain, the Granite Mountain. I can't remember what they're called. It's a forest
fire jumper type people.
Yeah, it's firefighters that do forest fires, and the way that they fight fires is completely different to kind of urban firefighters. It's very good. Another one is which goes Moneyball, with Brad Pitt and oh my god.
Sorry, I can help. Brad Pitt and Josh.
Anyway, Moneyball was also a very good one. I also really enjoy Jonah Hill. I also really enjoy The Big Short, and also there's another one which, for some strange reason, I can't remember, which I'm going to look up right now.
Well, if I was just picking from my favourites, obviously, and this is Brew, because he knows me quite well, Jaws or Ghostbusters, but I give them as answers for everything. I think Ghostbusters is in there with a shout. Jaws probably too, because I've watched those films so many hundreds of times at this stage. Same thing with 12 Angry Men. Gosh, though, I know that there's something that'll fit this criteria even better. I think Shine, if I was picking from those movies that helped me experience emotions properly. Shine, the story of Jeffrey Helfgott, the concert pianist or solo pianist genius who has a nervous breakdown. Which, if you haven't seen it, it's what put Jeffrey Rush on the map, and it's fantastic. Shine, a movie that most of you haven't seen, but I'm talking about it anyway. You should go and see it if you get a chance. Find it somewhere.
Yeah, I guess, it depends on the criteria, because if it's just rewatchability for some reason, like Margin Call and Master and Commander were the two Paul Bettany ones I was talking about. Brave and the Bolds,
Cannonball Run?
Big Short.
No. I surely you were going to pick Smokey and the Bandit or Cannonball Run. No?
But if... No, that's your choice. But if it's like certain characteristics, then I'd choose. If it's just rewatchability, for some reason, those films I just put on all the time, and love them no matter what. But if it's emotional, that's a whole different thing. And stuff, so. Well,
then I'd probably have to be honest. If it's one that I can just go back to all the time, it's going to be one of your classics. Probably in this order, it's Jaws, Ghostbusters. Then I think it's probably Back to the Future. Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Then, and it goes on down through the obviouses with Goonies and Temple of Doom and all the rest. Mine is All the President's Men. That's a good call. I wanna hear. So Brew, we got Jaws and Ghostbusters. All the President's Men. I've seen Shine. Galvin. I'm really glad somebody out there's actually seen Shine.
Gavin says Die Hard or Snatch.
See, Die Hard's on the list as well. God, in a lot of ways, Aliens
would be
Terminator
a good
2.
Aliens.
Yeah, Aliens is a pretty good shout.
Dread. I wouldn't watch. Dread. Yeah. This is an interesting one. Iron Giant, couldn't watch it. Couldn't watch it over and over again. It's my favorite. It is definitely one of my probably the top favorite film I've ever watched. But I would not be able to watch it over and over again.
Interesting. And
it would lose.
I think I understand that.
Yeah, it would lose such a place in my heart, kind of thing. That it would make me very sad.
Well, I know I said that was last question, but I want to give anybody else who throws in some answers. So we've got Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith. Oh, my tongue teeth combo's not working. You say that one.
No, my so Revenge of the Sith, yeah. But there's a question from Kitty Cat that I really do want to go on to because I really think that's a good one.
That's what I was. Yeah, I was pointing to. I know we said last question, but it's too good to skip.
Yeah, is film dead with direct to stream now? No, I don't honestly think it is.
No, well, I can do my thing again. We have a whole bunch of
check.
videos on streaming wars, and these will be easier to find because I have in my head I have some of the thumbnails. Oh, damn it, Paul! Why are they never where they're supposed to be? Tell you what, I'll go to the home thing. I know one of the streaming wars things is one of our more watched videos. There you go, streaming wars, Disney versus HBO. We've actually done some conversation about that. But yeah, I think our what we've come to on that is no. I think much like theater isn't dead, and like cars haven't gotten rid of horses, there's going to be an adjustment and a change. I don't think it'll be as drastic as all that. But yeah, no, I don't see it. I don't see it going away.
Yeah, I think that the direct to stream is going to be the new direct to DVD. That's what it's going to be.
You know, I love Ryan Reynolds, but he's already proving with Netflix that kind of is the case with some of the stuff that he's appearing in. Not to pick on Six Underground or Hitman's Bodyguard's wife and all that good stuff. So
that's where I think because I don't think studios can give up on. I think Netflix now there's Netflix and streaming services is a different story because they're traditionally fully streaming systems, but the elements of Disney and Marvel and Warner Brothers and stuff like that, even with their HBO kind of things, I think the big studios that don't have just moved into the streaming field will continue to do the cinema releases and then have certain ones to go onto direct to stream. But I think Netflix and that kind of thing is a different story because
there's also we always say follow the money, and the money does dictate that there's going to be a move to streaming, and we've already seen the wars that are brewing in people trying to gain market share and gain subscribers because that's how they make their money, and now trying to have premium video on demand, etc., as part of their streaming services. But nobody wants to cut off a revenue stream, and people don't want to cut off that cinema revenue stream before they'd have to. So there's an incentive to keep as many things going for this industry as possible, and that incentive is money, our money, your money. Because once Disney, Amazon, Apple, and Netflix and everybody has their hands into everybody, the percentage shifts are going to be smaller and smaller. You're going to find it calcifying, and people looking for the next thing to make the money out of. So they're not going to want to have removed income streams. They want to be able to go straight back to cinema if they need to.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just cinema makes too much money for the studios. So, and Irish Barrow's just you should guys to do an update because how the past year affected theaters. This is the thing is I think theaters are going to explode back into popularity after the thing because and I don't think it's going to slow down. I don't think. I think this is going to be a reminder of why cinema is really, really good, and just So that's my belief.
And again, one of our previous videos, which I'm not going to try and do the whole show on it, but we did talk about why the cinema itself is a different experience, and a lot of it came down to not just size of screen, but no matter how good your home theater is. There's the communal experience and sound. And we used Quiet Place as a great example of that. And guess what? Having seen Quiet Place 2 last night as my first venture back into the cinema goes, that applies more than ever. It is a perfect example of why you want to be in a room with people and you want to be in a big room with proper sound. It's a cinema film, ladies and gentlemen. It reaffirms that there's nothing, none of the magic is gone. The magic of cinema is still there.
Yeah,
I'm biased though.
Yeah, no, I completely no. It's just I completely agree. Like cinema is just a whole different. It's an event. It's an event going out and stuff like that. Streaming, like being able to pay $30 extra so I can see like the thing, like sooner is just gonna. It feels more. It feels more like a service. It feels like a premiere service rather than an event. And I definitely know that I pay $30 or €30 more for an event thing than I will for just getting access on my TV kind of thing.
Yeah. Sorry. Go on.
I was going to say Bauer just nails it on the head. Will one of them seem lesser like thought of as lesser? And yeah, the premiere streaming thing is already seen as lesser. Like in everybody I've talked to, I haven't talked to Patrick actually, which is interesting, but I would say that the direct to streaming premiere service that's on Disney Plus is seen as a lesser. It's seen as a lesser thing than cinemas.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Also, don't forget that part of all this is, and it never really gets talked about. One of the things that streaming was combating, and Ethan's called out that streaming is replacement for cable, not cinema. It's also a great way for the whole industry to combat piracy. It's massively about, okay, if people are going to get this stuff online and watch it home anyway through piracy, let's see if we give them a nominal fee, would they actually be willing to pay for it to save themselves the hassle of said piracy? Or people like us who really want money to go to filmmakers so that more films get made, because we understand that you're not just paying for the movie you're seeing, you're paying for all the movies you might get to see. You got to keep the industry going for there to be an industry to get the next films out of. So streaming is one of its biggest contributions from my point of view, is that you've converted a lot of people over to the idea that I'd rather pay my $15 a month Netflix so that at least some money is going to the people that made this. And similarly with cinema, like you say, it's your $30 experience. Yeah, well, you're going to have people like us that are going, I want to go out. Even things that we'll have seen on streaming. Like I've already seen Nobody. But I'm going to go and see it in the cinema because I really enjoyed it. The Bob Odenkirk kind of John Wick style film. I'm going to go to the cinema to see it because I want to support the cinema itself. I don't want to support that film. And it's my way of being able to give them money to say thank you for what you've made. And cinema's always going to have that. It's going to have people who are like, well, I want to pay for what I'm getting here. Similarly to why people are saying, I'm not going to be downloading movies anymore. I'll just get Netflix. I can, if I'm lucky enough to be able to afford it, then I may as well do it. It's one of the great side effects.
Yeah, like I find more and more friends who are just like, oh, I'll just download it. Like, I'll just Tyrants or something. I'm just like why nowadays? Like, not like not it's not a moral thing anymore. Like I'm not like oh, you're stealing kind of thing. But I'm just like, why would you like? I've had several like some of the older films and stuff like that, which
something is super hard to find. Yeah,
this is where DVDs and Blu-rays, the whole physical media thing comes in. Yeah, is a lot better in the sense of it. There's a lot of older stuff that hasn't made it to the streaming services and stuff. That's my only element that I can say. Tyrants might be a little bit more handier, or physical media is a little bit more handier. But anytime they're just like, yeah, I Tomorrowland, I'm going to download Tomorrowland, and I'm just like, that's on now, like it's on not on Now TV, but it's on Star on Disney Plus. Why would you do that? And they're just like, oh, it's free if I do it. It's just like, yeah, but never mind.
Yeah, no,
I just don't understand it.
I know what you mean. Well, look, as the world moves forward, it's going to get to a point where you're going to be a case of any even older movies. You want to watch this right now. If you give us $2, you'll get to watch it on YouTube. You're going to be talking nominal fees at the minimum. The amount of time, energy, effort, and electricity you burn to download the damn movie and cover your machine in viruses, it's going to make more sense to people then too. Now, and Kim, welcome to the stream, Kim. Says, can be expensive for a whole family to go to the cinema. Absolutely. Everybody's financial situation is different, and I have nothing but respect for everybody's different situation. So, like Paul, I'm not here to morally judge. I'm talking about as an overall. There will always be people who are in a position and want to support cinema. There are going to be people who want to and can afford to go to streaming rather than piracy. And then there'll always be people who are like, I can get it for free anyway. Why would I ever pay anything? And that's their decision too. People who are financially motivated because they're like, I got 4 kids, and by the time I give them all popcorn and take them to the cinema, I'd rather just get it on Disney and watch it. I'm like, well then, yeah, damn, get it on Disney. Make your own popcorn. I certainly wouldn't be choosing to do it the more expensive way in that situation either, unless I'd seen the film and I knew it was something that, right, kids, we can afford to go to the cinema 4 times a year. I'm going to be watching those films early on Disney Plus or whatever it is while they're still in the cinema to see if it's something that I want you to have the experience of as a child. Like, if the next E.T. comes along, I really hope that I'd be able to go, okay, everybody in the back of the family mystery minibus, we're off to see a film and you're going to love this. And of course, one of the kids is always going to hate it because there's always one kid.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, streaming does increase the viewability of films that are great and let you support us and stuff like that, which is cool. But I think the question more is the focus is, will direct to streaming take over cinemas? And no, it won't. It will be a useful tool to build a foundation of finance for studios and stuff like that. But cinemas are not going. They're not going anywhere.
Nope.
So,
at least I hope not, and you hope not. So, we'll do our best to keep it all alive. Paul, I think we've had some amazing questions. I really regret that some of you didn't send the questions in advance, because I realized that I'm going to be coming up with better answers later and sticking them in the comments myself, probably, because they are excellent questions. So thanks a million, everybody who either sent one in beforehand or as part of the live chat. I've had a lot of fun with this. It was a bit of a novel experiment for us. That's why I don't know if anybody will ever watch this in the future, but it was a fun thing to do. Paul, I said that I was going to hit you with a Coke or Pepsi question at some stage, where no context, no anything. You don't get to ask situations. You have to choose A or B. I'm not telling you what situation it is or anything else. Han Solo, Indiana Jones. Who do you choose?
Han Solo.
Fair answer. I think I'm a Mr. Jones. I'm not too sure. You never know until someone shouts the question. So, on that yes or no question, I'd like you all to head off thinking, are you more Han Solo or are you more Indiana Jones? Or which one of the Peters do you like better, curly or comb over? Paul, like, subscribe and share if you can. Do you want to walk us out home?
Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Which goes, we'll be back next Thursday, 8 p.m. same time, with a new subject, which we'll put out on the Twitters. Interact with our social medias and stuff like that. Share us out, like, subscribe, as Patrick said. And thank you very much for watching. I've been Paul,
and I have been Patrick,
and we've been Hear Us Out.
And you've all been great. We'll see you all soon. Thanks for asking us anything.
Yeah, thanks for not letting us just be alone.